Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shaw.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's Countryside programme with Kiri Kermode and Simon Clark. And, well, we've mentioned the weather quite a bit so far this year, Kiri, haven't we? And it's been a bit of a rascal if you're involved in stock and crops, isn't it?
It has. It's been a bloomin' long old winter and really could see the back of it now, and people are out with the ploughs getting ready to put the crops in. People are starting to lamb sheep, so we could really do with a bit of sunshine. Yeah,
and it's just, we've mentioned the wetness, it just hasn't let up at all. And the one of the main troubles a lot of the farmers have been saying is, of course, the way farm sheds and buildings and farms are designed, they're mostly, with the backs on the prevailing winds, aren't they? And we've had so much north and east winds this year. It's just been incredible, just going straight in the sheds.
This is right. We've put extra sheeting on our polytunnel to try and keep it at bay, and also the sheds. You do worry that they're going to be there the next morning with some of these big winds that we've been having, but it's that driving easterly wind, that bitterly cold one. It's wreaking havoc, really.
Yeah, certainly, and there's always plenty of wind at Jurby, especially where the Jurby church is situated there on the headland at Jurby. And I went along there to speak to Sandra Kerrison, the warden there and secretary of the Friends of the Jurby Church. I had a chat with her on their St Patrick's Day celebrations.
They're always great St Patrick's celebrations, aren't they? I think everybody, wherever you are in the world, always celebrates that day.
Oh, there's no Guinness going on in the church, let me tell you that for something. I also went along to have a chat with Paul Fletcher from Belig Farm in Jurby, and it's a sort of situation in the valley there between Jurby and Andris, and he's been telling me, how bad the weather's been affecting there.
Is it especially the early lambing this year? They've really got the brunt of it, haven't they, with the beast from the east, and now this really cold snap again. Can't wait till April.
Yes, well, it's getting to that time of year, I suppose, where gardeners are looking ahead to the summer and getting what they're going to put where in their little seed beds and everything. And you were along at Laxey.
That's right. Even with the bad weather, you got to get on with your growing, your planting and getting ready for the spring, because it will come right quick, I suppose. But the growers and gardeners of Laxey, they always get down to the sailing club for the plant share and seed swap, and Tanya Anderson does a great job there. They have a great raffle as well, plenty of donations.
Yeah, and it's one of them things where you just think, well, it's I've got loads of these ones, but I've never grown them before, and it gets a chance to find out how they actually get them growing, and we'll hear that in more detail during the programme. So here it is now, Countryside.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, it's a trying time in the agricultural world, Kiri, isn't it? The cold snap just when people are lambing, and the threat of snow and the wind direction. That's been the real blow, hasn't it?
It really has. It's been one of those winters that's gone on and on and on, and now we're towards the end of March. You'd think it'd start to pick up a bit. You get an odd glimmer of hope with a nice day, but my golly, we're struggling.
Yeah, and it's just everything's so wet. The fields, even where people have got to have them outside, it's constant having to keep feed to them, going in and out. It's not had a chance to dry, and just, apologies to the motorists for the mud on the road, isn't it?
It really is. But even just under the hedges where the sheep would naturally go for shelter or to have their lambs, it's just swimming with water. And then obviously it turns to mud and bog. And yeah, it's been a real trying time. I don't know whether it'll be a successful winter, really.
No, because that's the situation around the Ballastalla and Santon area at yours, Kiri. I went along to Paul Fletcher at Belig Farm in Jurby to have a chat with him and find out how far he was into lambing so far this year.
Yes, we're part way through. It's been a hard few weeks, the way the weather's been.
Yeah, we've heard stories about how it is around different parts of the Isle of Man. What about where you are? Because some say there's a bit of shelter around here, but the winds haven't been quite the usual directions, have they?
No, I mean, the shed you're sitting facing at the moment, the way the weather's been, the weather just drives straight in on the stock. We've not been round quite as hard with the hedge trimmer this back end, and I'm awful glad we haven't, because the hedgerows have been awful important to the stock for shelter.
And it's a strange thing. People, I suppose, who aren't in the farming world won't know the significance, the way farming sheds are built, with their backs to the wind, cows, sheep, animals. They do know how to shelter from it, but when it's persistently from a different side, it can be difficult on them.
Yeah. I mean, this shed here, when we had the bad snow in 2013, It's 3 metres of snow in the back of that shed.
Really?
Yeah. And lost several calves as a result. Not as bad as some folk, but you set the sheds against the prevailing weather, which is normally from the southwest.
Got the Len Trench at the bottom of your farmland there. I mean, how has that been? Does that help? Obviously, the drainage into it. But what's the situation dampness wise? Because everywhere seems wet.
There's wet and there's wet. We've been on Belig since Christmas '94, and it's the wettest winter we've had here.
Really?
Yeah. The boys, the DOI, keep the Len Trench clear, and the most important thing they have to do, as well as dredging and clearing the weeds and stuff out of the trench in the autumn, but the most important thing is keeping the shore clear, because they get a heavy storm that'll throw a 20-foot wall of stone up down at the outfall of Len Trench down at the shore there. They go down every week or two and pull that away with the digger. If that wall of stone is allowed to stay there, when the trench is in flood, the water can't get out the same, and that will back up the whole of the north of the island. So it's a massive responsibility the DOI have just to keep that going. But 2 days ago here, the people that come and ride on the cross country course, it's the field that they park up in. It's got the Portaloo in. We had 6 foot of water in there 2 days ago. It rained for 36 hours here, and there was 6 foot of water standing there, just a massive lake. What's
it like to drain? You're in a sort of valley. Is it good to escape to the trench, the water, usually?
It does, but the water table is just so high. Around here we're sand over gravels, but there is black rock where you get an impede of the water getting down further into soil. There's lots of spring lines around. There's been so much rain through this winter that everything is just absolutely saturated to the surface. And although it can drain off down the different valleys, down the different streams and stuff, the dub at the bottom is just flowing full bore. Flowing across the lanes, across the fields. The stock have just got to make the best of it.
Lots of farms now concentrate on one particular area. You've got quite a mixed variety here. The cattle, the sheep, the equestrian side of it, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a question of keeping a blend. We are looking at the moment with these wet winters. We've always outwintered here, and then how's the finishing stock? But we are looking almost going to similar to some of the dairy farmers. We use a lot of green crop, kale and fodder beet, which we strip graze in the winter. But we are actually looking at, do we put another shed up so the cattle are housed for part of the day and just go out for a few hours rather than being out all the time?
Yeah, and of course you're involved in other areas. You're busy on the farm here, but you're involved in the flag and other areas of the Isle of Man agricultural world, aren't you?
Yes, keep myself busy in other areas. Some people would say too busy, but what we've got coming up with FWAG, the Farming Wildlife Group, we've got our annual quiz, and that's the last Wednesday of this month down at the Tinwald pub in St John's. And Trish and Simon, who do the quiz for us, Trish is one of the reserves warden for the Wildlife Trust. She informed me this is the 25th quiz she's doing.
25th?
25th. She's threatening it may well be her last, so we'd like to have a really good turnout from the farming community and friends and supporters of wildlife alike to come along. And, if they drop us a text or drop us an email to manxchasers@hotmail.com, we'll send them the details out. But it's 7:30 at the pub on Wednesday night, last Wednesday of the month, St John's.
And also the Agricultural Marking Society is another name that springs to mind, Paul?
Yes, the AMS. It's an organisation that's been going on the island 1934. I'll stand corrected if it might be a year out, but it's been going a good while and been responsible for coordinating and linking between the different producer organisations on the island. Obviously, things are taking a turn at the moment at the meat plant, but there's still a role for the Fat Stock Marketing Association, albeit a different role. The Milk Marketing Association at Creamy, very, very fundamental for the operating of the meat plant. And at the moment, the 4 elected government nominees on Marketing Society have taken on the responsibility of writing papers and looking at different potential roles for the Marketing Society going forwards. And at the moment we've got the last of those papers is going to be presented this week, and then decisions will be made as the future dynamics and potential role of society, looking for the contribution it make to Manx agriculture, but to food and farming on a wider basis, looking forwards, possibly not just on the island but further afield as well.
Anyway, better get me wellies back on and trundle back out of Belig here, Paul.
Yes, but it's a part and thought to take with you, Simon. neighbour I learnt a lot from in my early years in farming in Jurby, Eddie Gouldy. A lot of people remember him going to the mart with your father. Eddie had a phrase: a drop of rain in Jurby every day's too much, but every other day's not enough. At the moment, we could do with a break in these showers, but to give it a fortnight of dry weather, we'll be shouting for rain.
Paul Fletcher there from Belig Farm in Jurby. And, wow, wettest year since they've been in there, was it 1994, Kerry? And it just shows you it's not the boggiest land where they are.
Well, this is it. We always think that, the sunny north, it's a lot drier normally with sandy loams, but I think this whole climate change, every winter seems to be getting wetter and longer. The seasons really are changing, and that's, you see it more in the last sort of 5 or 10 years. They're really getting longer, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just a bit of bizarre weather where you don't expect it sometimes, but Touchwood hasn't quite been as bad as March last time, was it?
2013 will be hard to beat, but let's get to the end of this one anyway.
Indeed. Well, it's maybe not ideal weather for sowing seeds, Kerry, but you were at the annual seed swap event.
That's right. This time of year, I suppose gardeners and growers will be getting their gardens planned out for what they want for this season. I went along to Laxey to catch up with the seed swap and plant share. Tanya, another successful seed swap and plant share this year.
Yes, absolutely. I think it was bumper numbers this year as well.
And you've been running a few years now.
Yeah, I think this is the 7th year that we've run this event from Laxey. And every year it just gets bigger and better.
How is it? Is it just word of mouth, or is it just gardeners, growers?
I think a lot of the people that came in the first years, they've continuously come back because it's such a great idea of sharing seeds for free. I also run some Facebook campaigns to try to reach people who might not be aware of it. And then I keep everyone's email address and send them an email the next year letting them know when the event's going to happen again.
But it's been brilliant this afternoon. People have been turning up with boxes of seeds. They're so generous, aren't they?
Extremely generous, and we always have a lot left over at the end, which we donate to charity.
There's some of them there for children, flowers, little experiments of tomatoes and different things. You can grow salads. You don't have to be an established grower to come and pick up a few packets.
No, absolutely not. And the thing is that they're inexpensive, so you can experiment with things too. And this is a great thing for established gardeners as well, because you might not necessarily pick up that packet of seeds for purple cauliflower. Yeah. But if it's here and ready to be sown, then why not? Why not give it a go? Try something different.
You were saying before, this is run by the Lonnon and Laxey Allotment Association. How hard is it to get a plot to actually try out some of these things?
It's dead easy. All you have to do is email me. It's lala@manx.net, LALAA. It's the Laxey and Lonnon Allotment Association. And we've got space available. Some of the plots are a bit overgrown, but a little bit of enthusiasm and some hard work can get them into shape.
And it is really rewarding, isn't it?
It is. I mean, this is the start of the growing year. It's really about small plants and seeds right now and just getting started. But within the next couple of months, there's going to be so much growing on our plots.
The seeds here, Tanya, some of them you think are coming up to their sell-by date. How does it work? Do they go out of date?
That is such an interesting question. So the best by, or the expiration date on the back of seed packets, you can ignore that to a certain extent, because although the germination rate won't be as high in the subsequent years, a lot of the seeds will germinate. So don't throw them away.
And that's the biggest point to try and get across to people, isn't it? Because you go and you buy a packet and then you think, oh, I didn't use them all, I'll just bin them and buy some more. But obviously,
there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste. It's the same issue with food. And a lot of people are now becoming aware that the best by date on a lot of food products, it's not necessarily reflective of how good that food is. It's the same with seeds. And if you just sow them again the next year, just ignore that date. I mean, what could go wrong, really?
An event like this, the Seed Swap and Plant Share, is ideal for children, isn't it? We saw some little boys in here earlier picking up an odd cactus and different things. They just want to get going, aren't they?
Yeah, and just being in this atmosphere and feeling the enthusiasm of people around them. They might not necessarily know how to grow things yet, but they will remember this, and they'll remember how excited they were to be drawing raffle tickets and, seeing these different aloes and seeds, and that will make an impact.
Well, there was a lovely story from one of the ladies. 3 years ago, she bought an aloe vera plant, and now she says absolutely humongous.
It was actually, she didn't buy it. We both got it from the same person. It was at a permaculture meeting, and one of the members brought in lots of little baby aloes, because if you have an aloe plant, they have lots of babies. And we each had an aloe from that time, and all the aloe pups are sitting right over there, the leftover ones from mine. And that was, I don't know, that was 6 years ago. And it just keeps giving and giving, that one plant.
It's so rewarding, isn't it, to see someone else walk out the door with something you've grown.
Yes, absolutely, sharing the love.
But the one thing also we really enjoy here is the huge raffle, and some of the prizes are just fabulous.
Oh, I think everyone gets excited about the raffle. And the thing is it's very generously funded by people who come, but also some local businesses. So Mother Teas has donated something. We have from Reap What You Sow. The cookie dough has donated cookies. And I donated a soap making lesson. I offer soap making lessons. Oh, and the lady who won that was quite excited. So.
Well, it is a real team effort between yourself, Tanya, and Brenda Killick as well.
Yeah, so we've been organizing this pretty much single-handedly for years. But the thing is that we can't do this without the support of everyone who attends. So people bringing in their seeds and plants and bringing in refreshments, helping support the raffle. And this is how it's become a success. This is how only 2 people can run this, is that there's so much support.
But it's really nice to see, Brenda, you were saying earlier, children here. It's really important for the future of them to know what grows in their garden, where food comes from.
Of course it is. The example I gave the little boy whose grandmother asked him where potatoes came from, he said Tesco. And when he came up to my allotment and I said, just stand there and watch this, he went, potatoes in the ground, who buried them? It's just to get children involved and doing things and getting dirty. Children are washable. If they get dirty, so stick them in the bath. It doesn't matter. I find it much better to get the kids out in the fresh air and learning, because we're learning.
You never stop learning, do you?
You never stop learning, but to get children while they're small, I think it's fantastic.
So, Tanya, with some of the leftover seeds that are here today, they'll go off to, you said, the community farm or the charities.
Yeah, exactly. There's various charities that we've donated the seeds to over the years. So the Children's Centre Community Farm. There's also an allotment at the Braid that goes to help support people who are homeless and going through hard times. So donating seeds to these charities, will help them. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many of them left right now. We've got a couple of shoe boxes full of seeds at the end.
Yeah. But this is after hundreds of people have been in and taken a few, left a few, but everyone's gone home so happy.
Yes, people are so generous, bringing in stacks of seeds. That's something that a lot of people have been talking to me about, especially online. Aren't you afraid that people are going to come to this free event and take advantage? We find actually the opposite. We've got so many people that just want to support each other in this, and they've got all of these seeds. They see where this is going.
And is there many native plants or seeds available?
Occasionally, yes. I mean, we've got some native shrubs that come in from time to time, but in general, a lot of the seeds that are here are edible plants for like allotment type affair. There's always some random things though as well, some random flowers. I think this year someone brought in flaxseed.
Oh, brilliant.
Which is interesting. Yeah, it's used in dyeing and of course, for oil.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the uses, isn't it? You just, they're looking at them and it makes you so enthusiastic for the spring to come. So
one of the ladies who came for the first time this year said, why don't they make smaller packs of seeds? I only need half a dozen of these, and this is fantastic because now I've got somewhere I can bring them. And she'd never thought of it before. She'd been throwing them away or, just putting them to one side. And this is perfect for people who don't want to sort of grow on a commercial scale.
What do you have in your allotment in particular?
At the moment, it's a barren waste, but both
spring has been really difficult, hasn't it, so far?
The daffs are struggling this year. Well, your basics, your salads, onions, everyone grows onions and leeks, garlic, beans, peas. Got to go through the allotment now. And quite a lot of fruit too, because I've got black currants, red currants, white currants, strawberries, raspberries, plum tree, apple tree.
You hear a lot of the farmers are saying the grass is burnt off, the fields are looking very, very barren. Is it the same in the gardening world then?
It is, but I mean, it's strange in the Isle of Man. Someone was talking about, I think here in Laxey, she'd been up and done 2 hours digging today. When I went up to my plot this morning at 9 o'clock, it was starting to snow, and the ground was like iron. You wouldn't even try to dig it at all. Yeah. So, within a couple of miles, it's so
very
strange and diverse, the weather. No. But, we plod on and we manage, don't we? We always grow too much of everything anyway. And it's quite nice that there are sort of outlets that we can get rid of our surplus now. Instead of bottling and freezing and living off beans for 2 years, you can bag it up and take it to the food bank,
How are the honeybees, Tanya, this time of year? It must be quite hard for them. It's been a long winter.
If a beekeeper prepares for a long winter and gets them fed up in the autumn, then it shouldn't be an issue at all. I had a quick little peek in on one of my colonies just recently on a clear, calm day, and they had plenty of honey stores. So that's good.
It's a massive sigh of relief, isn't it? Because you do worry for all the animals at this time of year.
Yes, absolutely. Especially the little birds in the garden. Yeah, I'm constantly filling up the bird feeder. If everyone kept their bird feeders filled up, it would really help our local wildlife.
Yeah, because I think things might be a bit scarce now. You were just saying that to Brenda that the land is a bit barren.
Yes, my bird feeder is emptied once a day. I have to fill it every morning. The little birds, they go through it so quickly. And it takes them so much effort to actually fly to your bird feeder. And if there's nothing there, they've just lost all of that energy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's small things that can make a massive difference to the nature here on the island.
Absolutely.
And you've also got to remember to put water out for them because everything's frozen. So you change the water every day. And I'm in the centre of Douglas where I have the fat balls, the peanuts, the seeds, anything else I can throw out, and the poor little things, you've hardly left them and they're there pecking. They should, by rights, be the size of ostriches now because they've eaten so much this winter. It's unbelievable. And some lucky person won that fantastic huge bag of birdseed.
Yes, right here.
That one.
Wow, that's brilliant.
So I think we're all very envious of that because they're going through so much. It's, you go out shopping and you come back with bird food, you forget yourself. You've got to keep the birds going.
Because people do complain there's a lot of songbirds missing, small birds are getting wiped out. But if you're not doing anything to look after them, then what do they expect, really?
Absolutely, and especially in cold winters like this one, we've got to help our local wildlife.
And it's a brilliant place you have here in Laxey. It's very central for everyone to come to it.
Yes, we want to say a huge thank you to the Laxey Sailing Club. They've been hosting us for years now, and it is such a nice place to hold this event. And I also want to say once again thank you to everyone, all the businesses who sponsored our raffle. I mentioned a few before, but Ballynilson Nurseries also were very generous. And without the support of the community, this event wouldn't happen.
And we've been very spoilt this afternoon, Tanya, with a roaring fire too, a real one at that.
Yeah, a really nice fire. There have been drinks flowing, music has been playing. It's been a really great atmosphere to share seeds and plants.
That was Tanya Anderson and some of the people in attendance at the Seed Swap and Plant Share.
It's amazing what sort of seeds they have at that event, isn't it? You think, oh, do people grow these on the Isle of Man? Do you?
That's right. Yeah. There really is some bizarre ones that turn up year on year. But it's a great way for children to start out. They can go along and pick some little tomato packets up and away home and try them. It's great for beginners.
Yeah, and funnily enough, connecting with just the simple thing like the potatoes, I watched a film called Martian the other night. A fellow was trapped on Mars.
Oh my.
And they had potatoes as food. They had a space station there and stuff. And he got left there. And he decided he would make a bit of a thing out of it in oxygen places where the water could settle down, and using various items of manure that he had to hand, yes. And planted some of the potatoes, or spuds as I'll call them, and made obviously 10 times as many every time when he planted them and replanted them. So it was quite, just reminded me of that.
It really is great how fascinating once you get a start made, like you say, planting just one spud and then it multiplying. It can be quite addictive, and especially at a young age, it can develop little minds, can't it?
Yeah, but the trouble is, I think the pulling of them out every 2 minutes out of the ground, have a look at them to see if there's any on. That's the trouble, isn't it?
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, last week saw the St Patrick's Day celebrations around all parts of the world, connected mostly with the Irish. But of course, here on the Isle of Man, we have our very own St Patrick's Church, situated on the headland there at Jurby. This can be seen on a clear day from the shores of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. I'd like to chat with Sandra Kerrison, who is the warden at Jurby Church and also secretary of the Friends of Jurby Church, to find out how the day had gone.
It's the first time we've celebrated St Patrick's, partly because we've had a lady came from America, and she was really impressed with the church and what we were doing to try and give us a future. So we've been thinking quite a lot about the connection in the past year or so, and it happened to be 4 years ago on St Patrick's Day that we formed the Friends of Jurby Church to try and give the church a new sort of impetus and beginning, and to save it really, because it was getting into a state of repair where something had to be done.
Reading up a bit of history about it, there was talk that the connection was it was the part of the modern church the groundwork was started on St Patrick's Day. But of course, I think the purists still believe that it's got such a view of Ireland, and I think they can see it as well from there, can't they, the church?
Yes, I think so. The keel at West Nappen was St Patrick's Chapel. It seems to have been more than just the little keels that you often found for just the priest, and there are still some of the stones there with the early crosses. One is an early Christian one there, and also a Norse one. We're not sure whether this was because of St Patrick's Chapel or whether the keel that was believed to be on the present church site was dedicated to St Patrick, but there's always been this strong connection. There are lots of stories about St Patrick landing nearby in Jurby, and stories about a priest who was forgetful and he was out fishing, and when he suddenly realised that he had to get back for his service and he met somebody on the way, he said, I'm sorry, I wasn't there for the service. And this person from the congregation said, oh, but you were there. There was somebody there. And of course, the idea was that it was St Patrick who'd come and saved the day.
All right, but it's fairly unique as St Patrick's Church, isn't it?
It is really, and I think a lot of the things to do with Jurby Church are because of its remoteness. So I think that's probably why, because of the Reformation and all the other churches were maybe had their chalices taken and we didn't, because St Patrick's was the only chalice to survive on the island. So perhaps there's something to do with that, and the fact that quite a few of the churches, because they had a strong Catholic connection, they changed the dedication so that sometimes you'd have a church that was called St Catherine's, and they would change it to something that was more acceptable, maybe one of the apostles or something like that. So maybe that's why we survived. But in the past 2 or 3 centuries, I would say there hasn't been so much emphasis on calling it St Patrick's. It's just been Jurby Church or Kirk Jurby seems to have been the name. But of course, the shamrocks that are in the porches, and there's a stained glass window, and so that all these little touches were added probably in the 30s and 40s. So it was a case of keeping that alive.
It's certainly a unique place, and I think the only Anglican type church, is it?
That's right. Yeah, there's the Catholic Church at Peel, which is St Patrick's, but it's the only St Patrick's on the island. Yeah.
Well, you and your team are doing a fantastic job to keep the Jurby Church going here and keep interest in it. And it's been shown today, I think, by the support that you've had.
Yes, we've had a lot of support, and it's also sort of a celebration, really, that we've finally raised enough money to have central heating put in the church, which has transformed the building and is starting to dry it out, and the whole feel of the place is quite different, and sort of a really nice way to celebrate 4 years of the Friends, and we hope a bright future for Jurby Church.
Church Warden and Secretary of the Friends of the Jurby Church there, Sandra Carrison, telling me all about that St Patrick's Day and a bit of history, of course, connected with the church there at Jurby. And it really is a prominent feature. I don't think you can see it from your house though, Kiri, can you?
Not quite. No, not quite. But we can see across, to England and Wales on a good day.
Yeah, you can't see Jurby.
Not Jurby.
Oh, good. I'll leave my bedroom curtains open, then I'll be all right. But it's just fascinating that the church now, it's struggled a little bit. The years ago where there was rumours where they'd have to close it for good because the end of it was sinking. And now they've got central heating in it.
Wow.
It's just something, one little step at a time to try and keep that community there. And of course, a lot of history to do with the RAF, and of course, the days when the airfield was active up there as well in the wartime.
You really got to treasure some of the memories, and like having these organisations, the Friends of the various churches around the Isle of Man, really keeping these lovely buildings open, and they're doing a grand job.
Yes, they are.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, there we are. A bit of seed swapping going on in Laxey, and it's a wonderful event, that, Kiri, isn't it? It's just to get them all together and share ideas as well as the seeds, isn't it?
Well, that's it. And also it's a good point in a year to mark spring, and you sort of get a bit excited when you see the new life, new shoots and seeds, and getting your garden prepared or your allotment. And it's always lovely to reap the veggies in the back end, isn't it?
Yeah, and also, we hear about the trials and tribulation of farmers and with this weather that we've been having, and of course getting Paul Fletcher's views there from Belig Farm in Jurby. Usually quite a reasonable place with it draining all to the trench, but of course with the amount of water we've had, and the high tides, that as Paul was saying there, the end of the trench where it joins the sea, the stones build up on the high tides, and it slows the water coming down the trench, to end in the sea, which can cause trouble. So,
Mother Nature has a way, doesn't she?
It does have a way. And of course, the St Patrick's Church in Jurby there, great to hear Sandra Carrison and the team there just doing a wonderful job to keep that church open and to raise what they have so far. And it was a lovely day, St Patrick's Day at St Patrick's Church, with a lot of people turning up and supporting.
And that's the way it should be, isn't it?
It
For
is.
years to come.
All right. We'll see you next week on Countryside. That's all we have for you this week. Until then, from me, Simon Clark.
And me, Kiri
We'll
Kermode.
see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.